Guys, I read my first Hulk comic. In my 2-month journey into the world of comics, Hulk has always been on my radar. He's shown face in my last Spider-Man and Daredevil videos, and he was a highlight in both. And with my boys Tim Sale and Jeph at the helm, I'm really excited to see if he can function just as well being the main character, especially given the fact that he doesn't really talk all that verbosely. First of all, it may not be Dark Victory level, but Tim Sale, your art works fantastic here. I love that both Loeb and Sale are credited as storytellers since so much of the art enhances the writing. An obvious example of this is why Hulk is gray, and there are two main reasons. The first is it's an homage to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who in their original Incredible Hulk series didn't even finalize what color he should be until they already started. But secondly, and more importantly, it's a thematic choice to show how Hulk exists in this in-between state of the usual black and white that permeates comic stories. I didn't really expect color to be so literal in the Color series. Color plays a more important role in this story than probably any other comic I've read so far. Another instance is the choice to make the present in black and white and the past in full color, which is usually the opposite in my experience. And it's not a coincidence that the only time you see color in the present day is Hulk himself. The reason this is so necessary is Hulk is obviously verbally limited, so having the classic show not tell really gets you immersed in the story. And I love Hulk's look in this. He is the perfect balance of, oh, what a cute teddy bear, and oh, what the actual fuck is that thing? The overall vibe of this comic is very old school Universal Studios horror. Think like the original Frankenstein. But what's this 6-issue story about? We start off briefly in the present day in the context of Bruce seeing a psychiatrist, where he basically recounts the events of his origin. I knew the gist of Hulk's origin, but I didn't know these small details like he was trying to save this kid's life, or even that he worked on the army on atomic bombs in the first place. Honestly, one of my favorite forgotten parts of Marvel heroes is how nearly all of them stem from some type of radiation or atomic disaster. It's a cool nod to their Cold War roots. Anyhow, Banner was previously involved with his general's daughter, Betty. But in the initial aftermath of the explosion, Bruce is presumed dead, so Hulk instinctively kidnaps her to keep her safe, King Kong style. And I've already mentioned Frankenstein, Lenny, and King Kong, so safe to say this is not a new archetype, but it feels like a nice balance of paying homage to those themes while adding its own spin. The way I read it, Hulk is Bruce's repressed emotions, and as an aspiring armchair psychologist is very inspired by Jung's shadow. I think the most obvious emotion we see is self-hatred, which comes out very literally when Hulk says he hates Bruce Banner. He's incapable of accepting that part of him, so that's why Hulk ultimately breaks through. And Loeb actually mentions in the commentary that Hulk is not supposed to be the concept of the id, like something like Jekyll and Hyde, for example. So I think this theory holds some water. Anyways, enough therapy. To get Betty back, her father, General Thunderbolt, yes, that's his actual name, sends none other than Iron Man to stop Hulk. Now, obviously the fight is great, the art is great, Iron Man as a villain is great, but what I really think is cool about this part is how Iron Man feels like a 60s comic book hero. His dialogue is so over the top, and his costume is straight out of something I'd expect to see in my 60s Spider-Man videos. It's also such a genius decision to have this flashback in the psychiatrist office, since they can use that modern day dialogue as narration without seeming awkward, and also without having to make Hulk speak at all. This is just a really nice small story about Hulk wanting to be loved and Banner struggling to accept the fact that he is worthy of it, and it's really damn beautiful. As far as character dynamics go, the story does a really good job telling us that Hulk on the inside is no different than what's in all of us, and it really makes some of these scenes when Betty rejects him as pretty painful. Hulk is just a really hard character to write, since you have to deal with A, not having the ability for him to say a lot of dialogue, B, no real famous villains or sidekicks to sprinkle in, and C, you kind of have to resolve the story in a non-violent way, and I'm happy to say Hulk Gray does all three really well. I think the ending is really powerful too. I might be reading too much into this, but this is my theory. Since Hulk is Banner's repressed emotions, his refusal to accept Hulk as anything but a monster is the reason he's green by the present day. It's him still clinging to that black and white concept we talked about earlier. Or I don't know, this is my first Hulk comic, so maybe I'm totally off base. I do have two complaints about the story though, and they're the following. Number one, it's very short and sweet, and I don't think it's paced poorly per se, but it just doesn't have enough time for any anything other than a basic recap of the events. There's no arc here. And number 2, I know I said my theory for the ending, but there's this little line that is gnawing at me that Bruce says Betty loved him for the wrong reasons, but I have no idea what those are, and I even broke my rule and tried to look it up, but I just could not find anything on it. So if you understand this, please drop me a comment, because it's kind of made the ending fall flat a bit. According to Hoopla, I can only borrow one more comic this month, so my next video is probably going to be either another Spider-Man or Daredevil one, but I thought it could be cute and zany to do a video on Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which I just watched for the first time. So I'll put a couple of comments down, just upvote which one you would be more interested in, and come aboard and subscribe if you don't want to miss either of those. Or, as always, feel free to suggest your own hero or story that you'd want me to read with fresh Gen Z eyes. As for Hulk Gray, I think it had a very, very small scope, but it executed it pretty well, and it is very, very close, but I think it has finally unseated Batman Year One, and Loeb Sale, my friends, you now own my top 3 spots so far. So, any case, hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Peace.